This is so key. I read this article recently, and it was basically talking about the change that the glands go through. In women, it's called perimenopause into menopause. For men, they don't really describe it so much, but it's the same thing. It's basically your glands resetting after the first, phase of your life. Well, they're now saying that this transition is happening to people as young as 29 years old due to all the EMF and Wi-Fi and smart meters, all this stuff going on, all these outer stresses, looking at phones. It's stressing out the adrenals and the cortisol levels so much. So the adrenals are how people organize their endocrine system in the previous age, which was relevant when you're going out and needing to hunt for food and go gather. Adrenaline's the thing that makes you able to go out and do that. So it was relevant. Yet now the situation has changed. You don't want to be in adrenaline all day because then you're always responding to the outside world. And there's too much going on right now in the outside world. I've been into glands for years. My background's cranial work. I love cranial work. A lot of this work is rooted in an understanding of the cranial rhythm and opening that unwinding. And if your glands are releasing adrenaline and cortisol, it's like a magnetic field. Adrenaline, on, off, on, off. Well, what happens to magnetic field, right? Everything clings to it. Heavy metals, pesticides, toxins, cell memory, emotions, belief, attitude, all those things cling. Most people are setting up the condition for the things that they're holding on to that they don't like. I am passionate about the sharing the ability and tools like our laser, which is one of the only things that I didn't find it. I actually made it, and I made it purposely to help to unwind glands. One has to be able to unwind glands and to tune them for the kind of condition you want to have. The yogi I learned from said everyone here is too horizontal. If you're horizontal, you're in sympathy. People get upset, you get upset. The news, this happens, and you're going like this all day long. Yogi I learned from said go vertical. When you go vertical, stuff goes on, it's going on. Don't change your condition because of what's going on out there. The key from my perspective here at this moment on planet Earth to going vertical, still point. Still point is what helps me stay in equipoise. For folks that are new, the easy way to start is to if you take a breath in, and at the top of the breath, relax, let the breath go, take a breath in, then totally relax. The breath is polarity, right? Positive, negative. If you take another breath in, and at the top of the breath, simply stop. Kind of feels like holding the breath. Don't hold the breath. Let the breath keep going like it does when you rest. The breath is good at doing its own thing. Yet if you stay here in the space between the breath and hold, you'll find that your condition, you can rest here. Breath is gently doing its own thing. Really what happens is when you hold still point, the breathing slows and starts to acclimate and tune to the cranial rhythm, the cerebral spinal fluid rhythm, which is slower than the breath. And it's how everyone is when they're a baby. Everyone is kind of... I learned this from a yogi, and yogi said he lived in space between the breath. Still point to me is that quintessential state that enables everyone. We're going to do this throughout the course of take a breath in, stop right at the top, hold for a moment, let the breath keep going, yet stay here in space between the breath.
But what it does is it really takes you into the place that is the part of yourself that is very unknowable. And if you can be introduced to it through your breath, then it's a familiar thing, because when you breathe, you go there every single breath, and you've been doing it all your life. What's happening is we're able to start to sort of like get more in tune with that. What does it mean to me? It means everything, because it's where everything comes from.
Paul, I would, if I was in person with you, I would just bow deep gratitude for what you have brought. And thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's just incredible. And I believe that as far as the laser, You can look the world over, but when you capture the healing energy that's in this small little instrument for the price that's on it, for what it delivers in return, it doesn't just work on the physical level. It heals the entire essence of who you are. You become the full expression of who you were meant to be.
And people seem to be more and more gravitating towards me and the laser because I've shifted my focus. Listening to Paul, I realized there's so much more to learn from him, and I'm learning how to let go of trying to fix people and trying to make them better through my techniques, and allowing the person to find their own way of relaxing and letting go and going into neutrality and allowing their body to heal themselves. I really realized that there's so much more to know, and yet at the same time there's so much to let go of.
You can do the adrenals. I want to show you 2 or 3 points. First one is the adrenals, which are halfway up the body on either side of the spine. The adrenals. I went back to unwind. Unwind is particularly good on the adrenals. Put me in the still point right away. So this is so key. I can't say this enough. It's so important right now for people to be unwinding their adrenals. I spent years trying to, there's not a lot of easy ways to unwind the glands. This unwind protocol, and now I'm going to do the other side. You can do this in the front or the back. The more you dissolve that and open up to the new season nonlinear orientation, you go through a change into what I call activating the yogic glands. The thymus gland, the hypothalamus gland, the pineal pituitary and thalamus gland, and the carotid in the back of the, and I'm going to touch on those in a moment. Yet before we do this unwind protocol, and now I'm going to do the other side. You can do this in the front or the back. I just changed. I was on unwind and it felt pretty good, yet I changed to wave, which I've been doing a bunch lately, by the way. I've been using wave a lot on the adrenals. Still point is what made me able to stay in a state of integrity and coherence amidst everything going on. I don't care if it's going on, if it's not going on. Okay, second key place that I work in this protocol is the sacrum and pubic bone at the base of the spine. The sacrum and pubic bone at the base of the spine. And I do this area for 2 reasons. First, many people, when they've been in a tough situation, as occurred in the last season here on planet Earth, the sacrum and the tailbone tucks under. You can do this in the back, or you can do it in the front over the pubic bone. Right below the belly button area is the pubic bone. When the tailbone tucks under, it's like trying to move through life with your emergency brake on. And when people's sacrum and tailbone is compromised and tucked under, what happens is they get pain down the legs, they get knee injuries, sciatica, they get the spinal cord doesn't have good cerebral spinal fluid movement, so you get compression in the discs. People have emotional issues, people are all about this. Well, linear, a significant state of linear. Well, we want to unwind that sacrum and tailbone. There are also some crucial glands in this area. Around the base of the spine, the sexual gland, there's a bunch of key glands in this area, and unwinding these areas, the sacrum and the pubic bone, are amazing for resetting and bringing balance to the glands in this area. The third key place I work is the occipital ridge, the ridge line between the ears. Right away, put me in still point. And the key to doing this at the occipital ridge is that unwinding the occipital ridge is where the vagus nerve comes out. The vagus nerve, when the occipital, this is my background's in cranial work, and so cranial sacral therapy, and so when I learned cranial work and I discovered unwinding the occipital ridge, you can change someone's whole condition by unwinding this ridge between the ears, 2 to 3 inches between the ears. Why? Because the vagus nerve, the key nerve in your body, the vagus nerve is the key parasympathetic nerve in your body. It governs your breathing, it governs your digestion, it governs your circulation, it governs your pulse, it governs your organs, it governs your heart. It basically is the symphony conductor that governs your physiology when you're relaxed and at ease. When you're stressed, adrenaline locks up. When people get adrenaline, the TMJ gets tight, it clamps the vagus nerve, the occipital ridge gets tight, the vagus nerve gets compressed, and all the cranial nerves shut down and the glands shut down. So unwinding the adrenals, opening the tailbone sacrum, unwinding the vagus nerve. When the vagus nerve opens, your physiology balances. And on the flip side, your cranial nerves relax and open, which opens up the glands, the parasympathetic glands. The sympathetic, adrenals, glands down here keep you in the adrenaline linear context of the previous age season. Unwinding and opening up the thymus and glands in the cranium opens into parasympathy. And still point. The more you are in this state, you start to hold still point in your life. I tell you, you really want to live with still point, start tuning, unwinding your glands.